Hi, everyone. I'm Monya Kian. I'm the program director for the Domestic Harmonizer program at the Whitaker Peace and Development Initiative. This is a program that we launched in 2016, and we work in middle schools in the Los Angeles area to promote restorative practices like peer mediation and conflict resolution education. And what's really unique about our program is that we infuse all these tools and techniques with science, social studies, math, and English in middle schools. And it's been highly impactful, so much so that we're looking to expand this program nationally by launching a virtual center. We're going to have an exciting new game. And also right now is a very unique time because we're going to be including a trauma component. And I have the distinct pleasure of introducing my newest colleague, ReNina Minter, who just joined our team last month in March 2021 as our trauma specialist. Welcome, ReNina.
Thank you. Thank
It's
you.
so great to have you. We want to get to know you and learn about your journey. What prompted you to enter this field?
So I started out as a kindergarten teacher. I was teaching in the inner city in South Los Angeles, and I noticed pretty early on that children were having a tough time concentrating and being able to focus and being able to learn and retain the information that I was teaching. And I also discovered that children were experiencing a great deal of trauma in their community. Children would come back to school on Monday, brought by a family member who, and they would whisper to me, oh, someone died over the weekend, or there was a shooting here, or, someone literally would get murdered over the weekend. It seems like such a shocking thing, but these things really happened. And I went to the administration and I said, okay, we're gonna help, we're gonna do something. And I found out that a psychologist was not on site every day, that we didn't even have the resources to be able to provide the support that this child or these children and their families needed. And it really upset me. And so because of that, I decided to go back to school. I ended up becoming a psychotherapist, trained in trauma, and I began to work with children, families, adults, in helping them heal their trauma. And in this time, I've worked as a therapist. I've also taught, at the college level about psychology and trauma and things like that. So here we are.
And it seems like it all came together full circle, and you bring the academic component, the educational component, and the real life realities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Absolutely.
really,
It is
really
circle.
critical to have all of that. And we're excited that you bring that to this program. So we're working with schools, right? We're working with middle schools. And what would you like schools to know about trauma? What's important for them to discuss and know, especially at the middle school level?
Yeah. So middle school is such an amazing time because children, it's the formative years, and as well, the children have a certain level of maturity in middle school, but there is also it's also a time where they're not really sure about a lot of things. So
Right.
they're learning a lot, and so
They're
this is
figuring it out. Yeah.
they're really figuring it out. So this is a perfect time to teach children not only about themselves, right, to increase their awareness, but help them understand who they are, what they've experienced, trauma may in fact impact their learning and who they become. And so this is the perfect time for children to learn about trauma and also improve when it comes to conflict and things like that.
And it sounds like this is also a great time because they can carry this in other parts of their lives, right? Because they have the maturity, because it's such a formative time, it can become truly a life skill. And
Mhm.
once they know how to deal with their trauma, they can become more resilient, right? And they grow up,
Absolutely.
carry on to other things as they mature. This becomes something that can help them become resilient individuals.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
So this is a very, very unique and interesting and unusual time in all of our lives, right? We're all living through a global pandemic. It's a global trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've never
It
had to
is.
deal with something like this in our lifetimes. And what advice would you have for schools? I mean, schools have been closed for, almost over a year. And because of this, what advice would you have for them right now in
Mhm.
2021 when we're dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, but in general too, you've worked with schools that have students that have faced personal trauma. So it's double whammy now. What advice would you have for these schools?
I think it's important, first of all, to note some of the things that you're saying, which is this is a collective trauma. Humanity is having a collective trauma. And
Right.
so to understand what trauma is, how it impacts us all individually and collectively, and the impact is going to be felt differently for different people. And being aware of that, being aware of how it's going to impact each of us, whether we're talking about an administrator or a teacher or a parent, but also how it's going to impact the student, right? And how they learn. And if we don't spend some time being more trauma informed and healing, right, which is what the
Right.
program is really about, then it will impact everyone in a negative way. This is a unique opportunity for programs like the DHP program, and then with this trauma piece coming together, where we can actually make a shift. We can actually help people to turn this event, right, this pandemic, into something that we learn from. We can turn it into something productive, something positive, and people can use it in order to bring humanity together.
Absolutely. And I'm so happy you said that because it's really at the heart of the work that we do at WPDI, at DHP, where we want to transform these negative experiences, whether it's a conflict, a trauma, something that just happens, and transform it into something that's positive, not just destructive, where we can come out of it more resilient and where we understand ourselves better. And we can say, you know what? I know how to look at my unmet needs and identify what I can do in the future to make sure it doesn't happen again, or at least it becomes a more positive experience. So I'm glad that you say that. I want to ask you, since you've joined our team, what are your goals? What are your hopes for joining the Whitaker Peace and Development Initiative and this program in particular?
Yeah. So this for me, and I think you brought it up earlier, this is a full circle moment for me. I started out, in education, and I spent many years I went from teaching kindergarten to teaching college, and also, healing people individually. And in my mind, I always felt that I would find a way to impact and to create change on a larger scale. And so for me, DHP, the WPDI, and everything that we are doing is exactly that. And so my goals are for people to understand exactly what their trauma is, for people to, the students, the teachers, the parents, to know what trauma is, know how to recognize their own triggers, understand things like fight or flight, understand anxiety or how trauma may manifest, use specific tools and skills in order to retell their story, right? Rewrite their narrative and turn their trauma into something productive, turn it into something very purposeful, and to
Right.
accept their emotions along the way. So yes, I'm
It
excited.
becomes something empowering for all of us
Absolutely.
after dealing with this crazy, crazy year. Um,
Yeah.
I really like hearing you talk about some of the specific ideas that you have. Can you tell us more about the techniques that you're going to introduce for students, parents, and teachers in the work that you'll be doing?
Yes. What I've learned over the years in my trauma training and in trying to help heal families and individuals is that some of the things that really work are not the awareness, which we talked about. So there are tools and tricks to increase a person's awareness. There's also emotional regulation, understanding that our trauma creates certain emotions in us. And instead of ignoring those emotions or pretending like they're not there, how to use those emotions, learn from those emotions, be purposeful in that. Things like mindfulness when it comes to grounding techniques, relaxation, deep breathing, meditation, yoga, things that help us get back into our bodies, because trauma sends us to the past or sends us to this future that is worse than what we've ever experienced. So it's a thing
Right.
that our mind does. So teaching people how to do these things creates a new story. It creates a sense of resilience. Like we've talked about, it's empowering for people to be able to do
Exactly.
that.
Right.
So there's so many tools that I'm so excited to be sharing with the students and the parents and the teachers. So
Well, we at WPI are so excited to have you on board. And we're excited to make really great things happen for the schools that we work with. So thank you for joining our team.
Super excited. Thank you.